Leadership is really a core key skills everybody need to have because technology is going to change. I joined the Navy in 2004. So right. I discovered the information warfare at the time when the military was really transforming digitally. And I fell in love with the mission, defending national asset, but I also fell in love with technology's ability to scale impact.
From securing the nation's most critical military networks to guiding boardrooms through the AI age, Bob Fabién, BZ Zinga, leads where mission, technology, and integrity collide. A U.S. Navy information warfare commander and global cybersecurity strategist, BZ turns cyber risk into business resilience.
My aha moment came at Pivotal where I walked in thinking like a commander, control policy authority, but that absolutely didn't work. I think you need a bias for action. In the Navy, we're going to spend whatever money we need to. It is national security, but when you are in a small, medium-sized business, a startup, you have to be profitable. There is no if and but about it. Establish trust. That was very important. The medium-sized businesses that don't care about security very much. Once you got a Fortune 100 company like Microsoft was our client, Google was our client, they absolutely care about security.
Welcome to Automate or Die Trying, the show where moving fast and staying secure isn't a contradiction. It's a job. I'm Wil Ramos, and I'm here with Bob Fabién Zinga, a cybersecurity executive who's commanded Navy cyber operations at the national level, built security from zero at AI startups, and scaled programs that drove 15x revenue growth. He's a Navy commander, a certified leader coach, and someone who spent 26 years proving that security can be a business accelerator and not a blocker. Today, we're digging into what it really takes to balance security, speed, and at scale, from the Pentagon to the Silicon Valley startups. So, Bob, for listeners who don't know you yet, can you share what you're currently responsible for?
Yeah.
And the scale you operate at?
Absolutely. So today, I think I operate at the intersection of cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, emerging tech, and mission-critical operation. So on the military side, until recently, so I am a U.S. Navy information warfare commander. My last billet, I was a commanding officer for the Global Network Operations Security Center for the U.S. Navy. That's pretty much the entire NOC for the entire Navy global. So that was a very, very big job. But anyway, so I did cyber defense and mission assurance across globally distributed system that can impact national level operation. In the industry, I've served as a CISO. My last gig, I was a CISO at Santa Clara University here in Silicon Valley, but also a security leader for AI and SaaS company. For example, directly where we did customer support automation using artificial intelligence and machine learning. So overseeing security programs that support thousands of enterprise users, multi-million-dollar contract, and fast-moving engineering teams. So my role is kind of a blend of protecting high-value, high-stake system while enabling organization to move at the speed of innovation. I guess Bill Gates would say the speed of thought, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's two extremes, right? You know, commanding Navy cyber operations with like billion-dollar stakes and building a security for like fast-moving AI startups, right? So how did you first get into cybersecurity, and what pulled you toward this like dual-track career, right? You know, what was the moment when you realized security couldn't just be about control? It had to enable speed and business results.
Yeah, so I think for me, cybersecurity really found me. At the time, I was working at the University of Alabama. I was a computer technician assistant. That's how I got started there. And then I got into networking, and then I accidentally found myself into security. Actually, it's kind of funny, but I don't know if you remember, but back in the days, like early 2000, Microsoft Certified System Engineer certification was a pretty big deal. Back then.
MCSE, I'm very familiar with it. Yeah.
Right. So I did my MCSE and MCSE certification. And back then in 2000, Microsoft just started this track on security. I was like, well, okay, let's find out what this is all about. So they have two tracks. One was messaging, the other one was security. So I kind of got into it, and then I realized that's really what I was born for. Like they say, the rest is history. But then again, around this time, 2001 is when 9/11 happened, and I really felt in my heart I needed to do something to help support our way of life and defend this country. I wasn't a U.S. citizen at the time yet, but I definitely wanted to join the military and do my part. So eventually, I joined the Navy in 2004, and then I started as a enlisted E1, which is the lowest rank in the military, so the deck plate, and then I eventually became an officer, information professional officer, which in 2010 became part of the, we used to call it the Information Dominance Corps, but then the Navy quickly figured out that we didn't dominate anything in cyber, so we called it the Information Warfare Community instead. But anyway, so I discovered the information warfare at the time when the military was really transforming digitally. And I fell in love with the mission, defending national asset, but I also fell in love with technology's ability to scale impact, right? So the dual track career happened naturally for me. The Navy really taught me how to fight and defend, and Silicon Valley taught me how to build and innovate. So together, they kind of shaped me into a security leader who understands both precision but also velocity.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So when you transitioned from Pentagon to Silicon Valley, one of the fastest growing startups, right? Where you went from like a military command authority of influencing about 2,000 elite engineers without any positional power. Walk us through that shift. What broke, and what did you have to unlearn from your military?
Well, actually,
I
wrote a paper about that in Strictors, how to lead engineering-centric organization. That was quite a change. I must tell you, for the first 30, 60 days, I thought about quitting almost every day because I felt like engineer didn't care about security like at all, right? Even though I was one of the lead cybersecurity leaders in the organization, but they would completely ignore me. Like anything I said or asked, like, no, we have our own project and our own things to work on. We don't have time for security. So that really shocked me. And so that's when, because in the Navy, I was used, once security tells you to jump, you say, hi. But Silicon Valley, they absolutely didn't care about what security said, at least initially. So then I was, okay, we're going to need to change our approach. So I was looking for, my first startup was a very strange kind of startup because from day one, they had 2,000 employees. I've never seen a startup quite like that. Extremely, extremely well funded. It was a EMC company. So basically EMC, who also owned VMware, they took 1,000 VMware employees and then 1,000 EMC employees, and that became Pivotal Software. I think I was like employee 2,107. But anyway, the headquarters for Pivotal was in Palo Alto, where I worked. That's where the security function was. But the engineering function was actually in the city, in San Francisco. So what I decided to do was, okay, I need to get to know this engineer. Since they won't listen to me, let's see if we can really develop this relationship. So every first day, I took it upon myself to drive from Palo Alto to San Francisco. I spent the entire day with them. So they got to know me. I got to do pairing with them, and then really show them why security was important in what they were doing. Especially back then, really the goal was for Pivotal to eventually go public, which we did. I made a small fortune, but it was like, hey, we are going to go public and we need to have secure software. We cannot be having clients with a bunch of software with bugs and vulnerabilities. So with time, we started collaborating together, and that's really where I learned how to do security at velocity. Because in the Navy, in the military in general, we used to use the waterfall method. Maybe we would upgrade our code once every 6 months, if we're lucky, or once a year. But at this company, they had like a 2-week sprint. Like every 2 weeks sprint, you could, I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like it was so fast. I'm like, how do we know that the code that we are publishing out there is actually secure? So I was kind of, I've had to kind of play catch up, right? So they publish the code, and then we would go and analyze the code, scan it, and find vulnerability, and then work with engineer to kind of fix it. But then, like, no, there's got to be a better way, right? So basically, my aha moment came at Pivotal, where I walked in thinking like a commander, control policy authority, but that absolutely didn't work. So surrounded by those 2,000 elite engineers shipping code constantly, like every 2 weeks, like I said, and not one of them needed my permission to innovate. So they would just do their job. It was mostly an engineering-centric organization. That was really their bread and butter, and security was kind of like an afterthought. So someone told me, right, if security slows us down, right, it will not scale. So that's really where I understood if we're going to have to do security, we're going to have to do it a completely different way. So that's pretty much changed everything for me. So I learned that if security doesn't create speed, predictability, and customer trust, then it becomes completely irrelevant. And I didn't want to be irrelevant. So that's where my mantra speed to business result kind of was born.
Yeah. And there's, I guess you worked at a company called Directly, right? Where you built a security program from the ground up during like a hypergrowth, right? The company went like 15x revenue and an acquisition. So how do you think about risk when you're moving that fast and automation is touching production every day?
Yes. So that's really, when I come to Silicon Valley, that's when my perspective starting to change. I think the security principle, they remain the same, but the way you apply them definitely completely different world. So I think you need a bias for action, right, with a backbone of guardrails. So basically, at Directly, we're automation-powered large enterprise customer. We built a risk model around blast radius, velocity, and customer impact. That was really the focus. So we prioritize real-world impact over theoretical risk, right? So the mindset was, if it breaks in production, how bad is it, and how fast then can we recover, right? And how do we make the safe path the fastest path? So basically, it was where I was really able to apply everything I've learned at Pivotal into doing security at Velocity. So basically, the engineer, they could go as fast as they needed to go to innovate at scale, but I had was security guardrail. As long as they stayed within the guardrail, they could go as fast as they wanted to. So it was really security enabling engineering, security enabling business. That was quite a paradigm shift.
Yeah, and you did it at the sales cycle, right? It looks like you reduced deal closure by 39 days by embedding security into the sales cycle, right? So, I mean, I think that's a huge competitive advantage. Walk us through how you architected that. What was the system or playbook that you used to be able to do that?
Yeah, so generally speaking, as you know, I think it's true for IT, security, even legal. Generally speaking, we are cost centers, right? We don't bring in any customer, don't bring in any revenues, but we do ask for a lot of money to run those functions. So especially when you are in a startup, because in the Navy, we're going to spend whatever money we need to. It is national security, but also if we don't do it right, people may actually die. But when you are in a small, medium-sized business, a startup, you have to be profitable. There is no if and but about it. So basically, I embedded security inside the sales cycle instead of bolting it on after the fact. Again, something I'd learned when I was at Directly. So we built a repeatable system, pre-built security packets, automated evidence collection, clear customer-friendly language, and a rapid response model for security questionnaire. Also, when I was at Pivotal, if you're a security professional, you don't have to be a business leader, but that's when I understood I needed to get a business degree. That's why I have a Master of Business Administration. I needed to speak the language of business, the language of finance, the language of the organization. Because one mistake we did when I was at Pivotal was, and in many organizations do that, security was running as a silo. We were on our own, doing our own thing, coming up with all of our policies and procedures and everything, without getting input from the people who will be impacted by it. So, and that doesn't work, right? So I think that was really, really key. And this kind of turned security from being a blocker, right? When I first got into security, 25 years ago, we used to be known as the department of no, can't do it, too much risk, absolutely not. But now it's like, no, I am your business partner. I'm going to help you do it, but we're going to do it in a safe and secure way. Right? For example, at Pivotal, our mission, everybody knew what our mission was, to develop modern software, and we actually taught people, our customers, how to do that. So me as a member of a security team, my job was to help us develop modern software securely and safely. So security is no longer a blocker, but becomes a revenue accelerator. Maybe we don't generate revenue, but we help definitely the sales team accelerate their cycle and really establish trust. That was very important, because as long as you have small to medium-sized businesses that don't care about security very much. But once you got a Fortune 100 company like Microsoft was our client, Google was our client, they absolutely care about security. If you don't have security, you don't have a person in charge of security and develop the security program, they will not buy from you, no matter how exciting and wonderful your software is. So that was really, really key. Establishing trust before before the customer asked for it. I think that really changed everything for me.
What was the hardest trade-off that you've had to make between speed and security? Like, what was the scenario? What did you choose, and how did it play out? You've worked in heavily regulated environments, DoD, higher ed, FERPA, GLBA, sorry, startups chasing SOC 2, Type 2, and ISOs, right? So kind of walk me through that, especially in the DoD, right, or in the military. They have a saying called "hurry up and wait," right? So
yes,
so kind of walk me through that. Yeah,
I think security and speed really aren't opposite. I think it's a false dichotomy. What I found out directly and at Pivotal before that, which was really a huge milestone for me, is we had a feature tied directly to revenue targets, right? That required rapid deployment. Again, that's another reason why I think a security professional, you don't have to have the MBA like I did, but at least understand the business, how we make money, and how you can enable that. So security identified risk, but delaying the release would have hurt the business. So we chose to launch with compensating control, right? Heavy monitoring and adding a rollback strategy if needed. So it really worked because the situation taught me that speed and safety really aren't opposite, but they are both outcomes of good design. So I think as a security leader, you also need to understand the core values of your organization and also the risk appetite. Right? When you're a small business, like I was at Directly, they are very, very high risk. They want to go first to market and so forth. But now if you work for a much older, more established company like EMC, they are very, very averse to risk. They've been around for hundreds of years. They make all of this money. They really don't want to try anything crazy. So I think you have to understand your organization, your industry, and then work within the risk limitation of your specific organization. But I think if you are a security leader, you've been hired to provide security for an organization, and all you do is to prevent them from innovating, prevent them from going to market, prevent them from making sales, then you are in the wrong job. Because I think you really should become a strategic executive and really help the business accomplish their goal in a safe and secure way within the risk parameter of your specific organization. I think that's really what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be an enabler, right, in the business. And at the end of the day, you got to make money, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, and at Pivotal, right, you were working in 100% cloud native, zero on-prem infrastructure, and with like a 2-week sprint cycles. How did you secure that kind of environment without becoming a bottleneck?
Yes. So this is what I call security at velocity. That's really one of the best things I have learned. So it's a risk-aligned security roadmap tied to revenue and products strategy. That was kind of like the first leg of my program. I guess my new way of thinking, right? So we try to tie every initiative to a product goal or revenue driver. So business like us, engineering like us, the CEO was ecstatic, right? So focus on high probability, high impact risks that threaten growth, right? And then prioritize frictionless, developer-friendly control. Because that's the thing with engineer, they don't want to be stopped. They want to scale, and you need to do it with them as fast as they can go. So kind of show a return on investment in terms of executive understanding, sales acceleration, uptime, reliability, customer trust. So those were some of the metrics I was tracking every month, every quarter. So for the starter, for example, when I was at Directly, right, the velocity was extremely high. So that was important. But I think the second leg of my program was really to have what I call paved road, right? So secure default pathways for developer, make it easier for a developer to do securely than not to do it. So when I say paved road, so that's very opinionated, secure, pre-approved ways for engineers to build and ship software. So just make it easy for me, so they don't even have to think about it. So the idea is that I make the secure path the easiest path, and then engineering will adopt it at scale without friction. That was really, really key, because if you put a bunch of blockage and you have to do a bunch of scan and stuff, then they don't want to talk to you. So basically, you kind of included pre-approved cloud architecture pattern, right? What I would call the golden architecture. I kind of got the idea when I was in the Navy. We used to have a gold disk, which would have a preset configuration, secure configuration for all of the
golden images, right?
So it's kind of like where I got that from. So using ISC template, for example, for Terraform and things like that, container-based image, which are hardened and scan, standardized CI/CD workflow with security checks baked in. Well, it's not something you add on; it's already built into it. Pre-configured monitoring, alerting module, secure API framework, and coding pattern. So that is really what helped a lot. And then I think the third leg of my security program was automated guardrail, not gates, right? Because when you have the gates, they have to stop everything, and security has to do their checks and then go or no go. No, I want guardrails. You go as fast as you can, as long as you stay within my guardrail. So what I really did is to guide developer without stopping them. No, very, very important not to stop them in Silicon Valley, because if you do, you won't be a security leader for much, much longer, right? So gates, they block the guardrail, they just nudge you and make sure you keep doing the right thing. So it's preventive, right? You have OPA policy, cloud IAM, least privilege, automation, secure code, scaffold. So one other thing I really loved when I came to Silicon Valley, which Navy doesn't do very well, is our culture has always been, we're going to eat our own dog food. Like Pivotal, we had the platform that we sold to our customer. We had to use our platform first before we went out and spend money buying stuff from our competitor. But even if Pivotal didn't have it, EMC would force us to get it from our sister company like VMware, like RSA, any other company below EMC. We had to buy from ourselves first before we went up, because it didn't make sense for you to spend, hundreds of millions of dollars with Amazon for their IaaS when you could have got the same thing from VMware, and then the money stays within the family. So that was really a mind shift for me, and that directly, we use artificial intelligence and machine learning, so we had to use our own technology again for our own internal processes. So that was really cool. So and then also, when we talked about guardrail, it has to be not just preventive but detective as well. Right, one time anomaly that has to do with all of the monitoring, drift detection, misconfiguration scanning, and things like that. And then it has to also be responsive, right? Automated rollback, auto remediation bots, and Slack alerts with one-click fixes and things like that. So basically, you try to make it as easy as possible for a developer to keep doing the right thing, and really enable them to innovate and go as fast as they can while remaining safe and secure.
Yeah, it sounds like you were shifting left and practicing DevSecOps, the process right before it even became a thing, in the industry. And that's it's really good. So you kind of answered my next question, right? As far as something you learned in the startup world, that the military and traditional enterprises are getting wrong about security and automation, right? So I mean, you kind of just nailed it on the head right there. So that's great. So you're a Maxwell leadership certified coach, right? So how does that leadership philosophy play into how you think about automating security and building resilient teams?
Yeah, I think leadership, in my opinion, really is everything. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. We are in 2025, right? 21st century, and now we have emerging tech like AI, generative AI, that's really changing everything. And part of the reason why I went to directly in 2019 was because I felt like AI was going to become big, and I wanted to learn about it. And I am so glad I did, because after 2021, it just blew up, and now it's pretty much changing everything we do. But really, in my opinion, leadership is really a core key skills everybody need to have, because technology is going to change. All of your technical skills are maybe good now. In Silicon Valley, every 3 to 6 months, something new happens. So whatever you knew before almost becomes obsolete. But if you know how to lead, if you know how to communicate, if you know how to engage with people, I think that skill is really, really key. No matter what, but like even with AI now, initially they said it wasn't going to take any job, just enhance our productivity. But now it is definitely taking jobs, right? There are some companies now, engineering companies, they don't want to hire a developer anymore. They just want the AI to do all of the developing for them. However, the developer or the technical person who knows how to use AI, I think, is more assured of a job than one who doesn't. I think the people who know how to use AI would be replaced with those who do not. And I get it. No, I think it takes leadership because they need people who are leaders who know how to deploy AI, emerging tech, or whatever it might be in the future. So my mentor, I call him Papa Maxwell, Dr. John C. Maxwell, always says leadership is influence, nothing less and nothing more. And that is so true because especially in the security function, you usually, especially in Silicon Valley, you don't have very, very big teams, especially in a startup, very, very small. And the thing is, you are responsible for a lot of things, but that you don't have direct control over, right? It's engineering that is really in charge of the software development, not security. It's the product team that is in charge of product, not. So basically, if anything happens bad with that, you have a scapegoat, but you don't have any direct, control over it, right? And you cannot tell those engineers really what to do because they don't report to you. But you need to learn how to influence them, right? You need to learn how to influence people at HR. You need to learn how to influence people at product and really incentivize them to do the right thing for the organization while keeping our core value and focusing on our mission. And kind of like in the Navy, we say, one team, one fight. So that comes out of the leadership skills I have learned my last 21 years in the Navy, how to deal with people, how to motivate them, how to incentivize them, and how to influence them to do the right thing, whether or not they report to you. That's why I really believe leadership is so critical no matter what you do today.
Yeah, amen to that for sure. So if you had to start a security program from scratch tomorrow at a high velocity company, what's the first thing you'd build or implement?
I'll probably start with a risk-aligned security roadmap. So risk assessment and then have a roadmap based on that. That should be tied directly to revenue and to product strategy.
Mhm.
I think security needs to add a seat at the table, not just wait after the fact and then try to add security because that is a losing venture in my opinion. So after you've done that, then you need to have those paved road I talked about and then automated guardrail again. Not gates, but guardrail, and then a customer-facing trust program. That is so important because I think part of the reason why security was able to show a return of investment when I was at Directly is because I was clearly able to show, this big logo, we were able to acquire them because I was on the sales call and I showed them how trustworthy we were and they could entrust us, right, with their very, very sensitive data. And because I had all of this program, I had a bunch of security artists. Basically, I was answering their security question before they even had the chance to ask. And because I think when it comes to trust, in many ways, it's almost kind of like a warm, fuzzy feeling, and and then once you have extra fact where it's a third party attestation of your security program, it's not just you yourself telling them how great you are and stuff. That really speed things up. So that's pretty much what I would say, because I think you earn trust early and then you bake security into every outbit of the company. That's the way I would do it.
Okay. What's one belief or principle that you'd pass on to other security leaders who are trying to move fast without breaking things?
Yeah. In my experience, I think speed is not the enemy of security. And I understand it, even now, the Navy is a very, very big organization. It's kind of like when you are driving a big ship, it takes a very, very long time to make changes, whereas those little speedboats is so much easier. But the Navy has had to change too. In the Navy, our culture within the DoD, we tend to be maybe not procrastinator, but we always like to be defiant in many ways. The Army, they are the one who comply right away. DoD says anything, oh yes sir, and then they go and do it. The Navy, we kind of wait, we think, we ask questions, and eventually we do it, but it takes us usually a little while. But I think the Navy can definitely learn from that, and I've seen in the last 5-10 years, we've definitely have been shifting that way too, because we had to. One big example, when cloud computing became big and stuff, the Navy, the DoD said, no, we don't want to touch it. It's not so secure now. But now, almost everything we do is on the cloud. But anyway, so I guess what I'm saying is that speed is really not the enemy, but uncertainty definitely is the enemy. So when you create clarity, automation, and predictable pathways, I think team move faster and safer. That's really would be my big recommendation.
Yeah, well said, well said. So, Bob, you have a lot of accolades, right? You're a keynote speaker, podcast host, advocate for diversity in cybersecurity. Tell me, what are you building or exploring next that you're excited about?
One thing I'm expanding on right now is my leadership and success podcast platform. I remember when I started this 4 years ago, if you can believe it. I know for season 1, episode 1, I was the one and only listener. I was the only person in my audience. And I didn't even know that people would even be interested. But now I have about 65,000 people or so who follow me. And I used to do it once a month just to get started. Today I do it since May of this year. Right? I do it every single day. It's really been fun, and I've been also getting more into AI, trying to help me do this and scale. So it is a lot of fun. Publishing new leadership and cybersecurity article, really daily on LinkedIn, exploring book project that blend military leadership with modern cyber strategy. That's really my niche, right? Everything I've learned in the last 21 years or so in the Navy, and the last 28 years in Silicon Valley and tech. So I am passionate about helping the next generation. That's part of the reason why I have this podcast too. What people need to realize that anybody who's an expert today, including myself, when we first started, we were novice, right? So I used to look at people like me back then, looking up to them, and now I realize, okay, I am one of those people I used to look up to now who is behind me, right? So that is very, very important. That's another thing my mentor, Papa John, talks about, the difference between success and significance, right? Because when you first start, you want to be successful, you want to do as much as you can for me, myself, and I, which is perfectly normal. But after a certain point, you need to start thinking about the next generation, somebody else. You are really a leader, I think, when you start developing other leaders, not because people report to you or because you are an influencer and you influence people. It's because you are creating other leaders. So that's really where significance kind of sets in. And Papa John says, no, once you test significance, success will no longer satisfy. And I think he is really, really right about that. So it's really about the next generation, especially underrepresented leaders, since I am one of them, which includes women and ethnic minority. I think we need to have a lot more diversity than we have right now. It is getting better, but I think we need to do more. And cybersecurity, privacy was a really, really great field, and I don't think anybody should be left out of this wonderful industry just because of their gender or their race. So I think we really need to break into cybersecurity and fire. So there was that kind of few of a project things that really excite me every day, and I want to do something to kind of move that forward.
Great. That's wise words there, Bob. So where can people, follow your work or connect with you and learn more about what you're doing?
I think LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me. Actually, most people who contact me on LinkedIn get the response much faster than they just sent me an email. I am on LinkedIn pretty much every single day, trying to give back, share my knowledge and add, and also learn. So LinkedIn.com, Bob Fabién Zinga is where you can find me. So I also have a professional site, bobfabienzinga.com. They could go there as well. Explore my leadership article, keynote talks, podcast episode, and things like that. So I also have a link tree, which kind of shows a lot of the things that I've done, articles I have published. But you can get access to all of those by going to LinkedIn.
Great. So, Bob, it's been a masterclass in leading at the intersection of speed, security, and scale. Thanks for bringing us the real-world playbook. And for the audience, thanks for joining us in Automated Die Trying, where features built in real time. This is a conversation that helped you secure differently. Share it with someone who builds, leads, and ships. Thank you, Bob.
I appreciate it.